Rev up your engines!
Here we go. Further news about Toyota Supra. Well, it turns out that you can get a 4-cylinder Toyota Supra 2 in Japan, and that it's going to be coming to Europe, but they haven't mentioned whether they're going to bring it to the United States or not. That doesn't really surprise me that they have a 4-cylinder one, because basically they're BMW Roadsters. And the M40i has a 6-cylinder engine, where the M30i has a 4-cylinder engine. These Toyota Supras are really just BMWs. So, you know, they're just rebadging stuff. And I guess they've tried in Japan with the 4-cylinder ones, and now they're going to do it in Europe, and then they'll probably bring it to the United States too. Realize that the sales of these Supras in the United States is horrendous. They haven't sold that many of them. They're so uber expensive. And to me, all that stuff's a bunch of hype. Toyota Supra, the new one, has nothing to do with Toyota. It's a BMW car. What's next? They're going to be selling all the other BMW cars and rebadge them as different Toyotas? I mean, the reason people get those cars is generally because they want some performance. Why would they go from a 6-cylinder engine that puts out over 300 horsepower to a smaller 4-cylinder engine? It wouldn't make any sense, really. You want a little knockaround car, get a little knockaround car, but you want to spend that kind of money? Why would you care about getting an engine that's a little bit smaller? You'd want to at least get the big engine. They'll probably bring it to the United States. I mean, they sell them in Japan now. They'll probably sell them in the United States too. I mean, with the sales that they do have, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal, because they haven't proved to be all that popular anyways. They're way too high priced. I mean, just think, you got one company making it, selling it through another company, and of course, they're all marking things up. So what do you want to go through a bunch of middlemen before you buy something? Buy something from the original maker. Only makes more sense. 13 says, Mr. Kilmer, which of these SUVs is best? Honda CR-V, Honda Element, or the Toyota RAV4? All right, you actually picked probably the best three. Then you got to decide. Okay, the Element, they can last a long time. They're good vehicles, but the Elements, they're kind of clunky riding. You'll find that the CR-V and the RAV4 actually ride quite a bit better. All last a really long time. You got to kind of road test them all yourself and see which one you actually like best and what you're planning on doing with it. Let's say you want an all-wheel drive one. Well, the RAV4 is the best all-wheel drive versions of those three. Let's say you want the best gas mileage possible and you don't care that much about riding. You like hauling a bunch of crap in your vehicle. The Element might be the best one, because they're great for hauling stuff around. They do ride a little bit crappier, but they cost a lot less, and they get better gas mileage. So decide what you want out of those, and any one of them is a good vehicle. You just have to decide what particulars you want in a vehicle. Well, Amanda G says, my car needs a jump start every once in a while, especially when it's cold or left alone for a long time. I took it to the dealer and they said, that's normal drain in a vehicle like yours. I think they're full of baloney. What do you think? It depends how long your car sits without use. Modern cars, computers control everything. Some of these cars have computer modules, 27 of them. Some Mercedes have over 100. I mean, we're talking about a lot of computer modules. And a lot of them stay alive for quite some time, and they drain a little bit of electricity. I've got customers with cars that are pilots. They park a car for weeks on end sometimes without using them. And yes, sometimes they will be dead, because enough to drain the battery over weeks and weeks and weeks. Modern cars are not made for sitting forever. Now, of course, if you're worried about something like that and you're going to park your car for weeks, you just disconnect one of the battery cables. What the heck? Then it can't drain anything, you know? I even have some customers that park a lot. You can buy special battery cables that have a switch built in. And so when you park the car for long periods of time, on that terminal, you just turn the switch off. Then there's no power flowing. Then when you start it, you turn it back on. But most cars, they're perfectly fine as long as they don't sit for really, really weeks or months without being used. If your car has to be jump started and it's just sat there for a day or less, no, you got some kind of a drain. And mechanics like myself, we have non-contact meters that we stick on the cable, the big battery cable, and we see how much drain there is. And if you have more than like 50 millivolt drain, then that's too much, and you got to figure out what's doing the draining. And it can get complex, because with these modern cars, hey, when the computers are draining stuff, some of them, as soon as you open the door and close it, it turns them back on. And then it takes hours for them to go off. So it can take days testing a bunch of stuff, because every time you open the door or do something, they turn themselves back on again. And you got to wait for they to shut off so you can test the system again. If it takes weeks and weeks and weeks, hey, why not get one of those little battery terminals that you can click on and off. Then you won't have to deal with any of that stuff because some cars are just going to be that way when they're modern. Josh 26, Scotty, what do you think about DeLorean as a day-to-day driving car? Well, it's great if you live in a fantasy world, you know, you live in a Back to the Future world where you can go back and forth in time, you know. Those are one of the most undependable cars ever made, especially as they age. They had Volvo V6 engines that were not one of the greatest Volvos, underpowered, heavy vehicles that were underpowered. They had crappy transmissions. They leaked oil all the time. They were just a dismal failure. I mean, a lot of people say, gee, I guess DeLorean, he was the one, it was his company designed him and stuff, was snorting a little too much of that white powder when he had the idea to build these things. You can't really these days build a car to be a collector's item. That was kind of his idea, that he'd build a car that would become a collector's item. Those generally don't work out. It's ones that are unique, have something really designed and well handling or a lot of speed that can become collector's items. Just saying, you're going to build these cars. I believe they built them in Ireland. I suppose he built them there because he got tax breaks so he could make them cheaper. Ultimately, they were failed cars. Some people like them because of the Back to the Future movie. They're actually pretty crappy cars. You really wouldn't want one. Weedbeak says, Scotty, I'm looking to purchase a newer vehicle. I'm interested in a 2017 to 2020 Toyota Tacoma. Should I go automatic or manual transmission? The manual transmissions, of course, are going to last longer. And if you do a lot of heavy-duty pulling and stuff, you're always better with the standard transmission. You have more control over weight pulling and how much you're accelerating and stuff. But their automatics aren't bad automatics. My son bought one, and he got an automatic transmission. He doesn't particularly haul a lot of really heavy stuff. But if you really want to pull a lot of stuff, put a lot of stuff in the bed, you're always better with a standard transmission because then you have control over it. Let's face it, straight cut gears that you're shifting are just stronger and inherently more reliable than a fancy automatic transmission with all kinds of bells and whistles inside that are ultimately driven by fluid friction, not by gears connected to gears. So, you know, if you're going to do a lot of hauling and pulling, you're better with the standard. Dalu says, I'm looking for a good, cheap OBD scanner for my '09 Ford Explorer. I want to reset the check engine light. Places like AutoZone. Now, they're not allowed to reset your computer, but they have scan tools there that do it. And at least here in Texas, I tell customers, go to AutoZone. Tell them you want to borrow their tool, check for codes and reset them. They'll just let you go and reset it. They can even show you how to set it. They're not allowed to push the button to reset it, but they can scan it. And once they're done scanning, there's a choice of do you want to erase codes. If you don't want to do that, Amazon. Buy the cheapest scan tool you can buy that says it resets codes. Costs as little as $29. I mean, there's plenty of cheap ones out that'll reset the codes. It's not complex stuff. I tell people to go to AutoZone, though, because they have all these tools that they loan out anyways, and they all have scan tools, so you could just say, I want my car scanned. They'll scan it, and then say, oh, can I show me how to erase the codes? And they'll say, oh, you push this, this, and this, and then you push the buttons, and it'll erase the codes. Most of them are very nice there, but like I said, you can always buy a cheap one on Amazon or eBay for probably $29. It's pretty simple technology just to read and reset codes these days. Mango's Vision says, what car shows do you like? Well, I'm always so busy, I don't have much time to watch that anymore. Now, I used to like the original Top Gear with the English guys, but then they went to crap. I wouldn't waste my time watching that shit. Now it's total garbage. And the American version was really horrendous. I wouldn't watch any of that. And I like the original Wheeler Dealers because I like Ed China. I think he's a cool guy, but when they got rid of Ed because whatever deal was going between him and the other guy, I don't watch it anymore either. I liked Ed. Ed was cool, and now they're just I don't like that at all, but I'll just spend that much time watching them because I'm too busy answering your questions, making videos, and actually fixing cars. Patty R1 says, Scotty, synthetic or conventional oil? I recently bought a 2010 Honda Civic engine with 80,000 miles. What should I put in it? If it says use 0W whatever oil, you got to use synthetic oil because they don't make a 0W normal oil, so you have to use synthetic oil. If you have a choice, you can basically do whatever you want. If you want to go longer oil change intervals, use a synthetic. If you want to go regular oil changes, like every 5,000 miles or so, you can use normal oil. But if you live in a really, really cold place like Alaska or northern Canada, you're better off with a synthetic oil because it flows a lot better at really cool temperatures. Here in Houston, Texas, it's overkill. You don't need it. It never gets that cold. I just use normal oil in my own cars, but I don't have any new ones that require synthetic oil. So, it's your choice. Just take all that stuff into consideration. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.